iCarly's final episode ended on November 23rd in 2012, but fans of the show still can't believe it's over. The show, which lasted for 7 seasons, skyrocketed actors like Jennette McCurdy, Miranda Cosgrove, and Nathan Kress to fame. Wait until you hear the weird food Jennette had to eat on the show. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a big thumbs up if you still watch iCarly. Now let's check out 10 behind-the-scenes secrets in iCarly Disney tried to hide. The truth about the butter sock. Let's bring back some iCarly memories. Remember the infamous butter sock? Throughout the show, this weird item made several appearances, and it seemed to be a popular thing Sam used to threaten people or, well, beat them up when they deserved it. Seriously, the number of times we've seen Sam pick up this weird sock has been unreal. The sock seems to contain a stick of butter, and for some reason, this seems to do the trick. It's by far one of the oddest choices of an item to use on someone, but we've learned that the sock holds a secret. Even though many are convinced the sock is filled with butter, Jennette McCurdy herself debunked this myth. Jennette said she doesn't want to crush anyone's childhood dreams, but the sock wasn't actually filled with butter. If you think about it, it would make the sock look way too light. If you remember it, the butter sock always looked way heavier anyways. There's a reason behind that. Instead, Jennette says it had batteries with styrofoam wrapped with duct tape. Sounds pretty extreme, right? She also admitted that her fellow actor, Nathan Kress, was a victim of a few accidental whacks. Imagine getting whacked by a sock full of batteries. Intentionally or unintentionally, that must hurt quite a bit. Butter definitely sounds like a safer choice, but we'll never be able to look at iCarly episodes in the same way. Sam's phone number was real. In the 14th episode of Season 4, we get to hear Sam's actual phone number. We always hear random phone numbers from various TV show characters, but it always turns out that they're not actually real. iCarly creators decided to bring the show to life and actually made the phone number work. Of course, you won't get to talk to Sam, but you'll get to hear her answering machine. It seems like this still worked in 2017. Once you dial 503-664-0452, let it ring for a while until it goes to the answering machine. You'll hear Sam's voicemail saying that it's her and that no one ever checks these messages, so you should just hang up. Pretty cool, right? Try it out and let us know if you're still able to call the phone number now. And that's not the only real thing about iCarly. Did you know you can also visit the websites from the show? We've seen the character mention sites like iGibby.com, Nevelocity.com, and SamPuckett.com. Well, it turns out that these websites are actually real. Sort of. If you visit them, you'll be redirected to the official iCarly website. Okay, so it's not that exciting as trying to dial Sam's phone number, but it's still pretty cool. We're glad Nickelodeon was able to take those domains before the fans of the show turned it into something weird. Jennette's stunt double was a man. Here's an odd secret Jennette didn't particularly like. Actors often work with stunt doubles when they're not able to perform certain moves or do some of the more dangerous things on the show. A lot of the times, they have a stunt double of the same gender as their posture makes them look similar. In an interview, Jennette McCurdy shared a bizarre fact that her stunt double was actually a man. In I Find Lubert's Lost Love, the 6th episode of the 3rd season, we see Sam lifting Freddie and carrying him out of the apartment. We never really see her face, so it's safe to assume she had a stunt double. After all, unless Jennette regularly hits the gym and does some weightlifting, Nathan is probably way too heavy for her to lift. But rewatch that scene. Can you tell that stunt double was actually a man? Jennette confirmed that and said she really didn't like the fact that she had to be portrayed by a man. We totally understand. Jennette did say that a lot of the stunts were actually her own work, as she enjoyed this aspect of a sitcom. Scenes with hammers and sledgehammers were always done by her, but in this particular scene with Freddie, she required a bit of help. Nothing wrong with that. She still did awesome in all scenes she did herself. Jennette pranked the cast. We always wonder what it's like when the actors first meet to work on a long-running show that turns out to be one of the biggest moments of their careers. It's fun to hear the stories, and it's even more fun to hear the behind-the-scenes pranks. Jennette actually has the best story of them all, and we can't believe she pulled this off. The iCarly actress admitted that she played the best possible prank on her castmates when she lied about her name. She convinced them that her name is actually Jennette Aria, which is just very odd. Well, it turns out that a lot of her castmates actually believed her. She was able to keep the joke running for weeks. It was even funnier because at first, no one believed her, but after a while, she was really able to convince people her name is actually Jennette Aria. You know you're an amazing actress when you're able to keep up with a weird joke about your name for weeks before telling the truth. Jennette also joked that Nathan still might know the truth and think that's her actual name. We have to say that Jennette Aria McCurdy would actually be a pretty fun name, and she just gave us an idea for our next prank. Have you ever done anything similar? Make us laugh and share your best pranks in the comments. Sam's remote is one of a kind. Remember Sam's remote necklace? It's used to create sound effects, and it acts as an awesome comedic add-on. The remote has been popular with iCarly fans, and you can even find some knockoff versions on the internet. The original remote is known to have 93 different sounds, and it also helps with the production of the character's show. Pretty cool, right? Freddie uses a program on his computer, and he's able to assign each button with a new task, like changing the LED lights using different colors. And although this incredible machine can be actually bought online, the original one is a one of a kind. The remote has been the same since the very first episode of iCarly, and it is known that Dan Schneider, the creator of the show, safeguards the gadget to make sure nothing happens to it. We can imagine the remote being protected by all sorts of things that have kept it safe throughout the duration of the show. Can you imagine that they use the same item for all these years? In the final episode of the series, we see Sam giving the remote to Carly, saying that it's for her to use if she'd ever need a laugh or a cheer. Whether it was the remote's fault or not, this scene made us tear up. It really was one of the best gadgets we've ever seen. The original show was different. Yes, you heard that right. Can you imagine if iCarly turned out to be a completely different story, with different characters, different storyline, and different names? Well, it was a possibility in the original script. The original show was completely different, and it was titled Starstruck. It followed the life of Carly, who was a regular girl and cast on her favorite TV show. But that's not all that was different about the show. According to the creator of the series, the main character's name in his original script was actually Sam. The show's name could have easily been iSam if the actual iSam domain wasn't already taken. Schneider also bought the domain for iJosie.com, but we honestly can't even imagine the main character's name being Josie. If the show would be called iSam, Carly would become Sam and Sam would become Kira. Sam and Kira were the original characters' names. Do you think the show would be any different with new names and a slightly altered storyline? The whole point of the letter I in iCarly is because it's an internet show. But then again, is that really so different from having a TV show instead? We're just so happy Dan Schneider didn't go with iJosie, because honestly, iCarly just sounds so much better. We do really like the sound of the name Kira. The adult jokes were intentional. If you're subscribed to our channel, you know we've talked about Nickelodeon shows and the strange adult jokes they tried to sneak in. These jokes were sometimes unintentional, although we're pretty sure a lot of the team behind the shows knew what was going on. Jennette McCurdy actually confirmed that the actors were actually aware of a lot of innuendos that happened on the show. Usually these jokes are inappropriate for adults, so it's always assumed the teenage cast have no idea what's happening. In this case, they did. Remember Freddie's apartment number? Have you noticed the funny way the creators showed the number 8? It shows a smiley face turned sideways, which many interpret as an innuendo. We'll let you figure out what it is. In I Bust a Thief, the 13th episode of Season 5, we see Guppy reading a book called Nifty Shades of Beige with a wide-eyed expression. Have you ever heard of 50 Shades of Grey? It sounds pretty similar to Nifty Shades of Beige, right? It's hard to believe that the creators of the show would make an innuendo like that and put it in the hands of a child who doesn't look more than 8 years old. Well, it sounds like the cast and the creators were totally aware of what was going on. The cast want a reunion. The fans of the show know that iCarly ended too suddenly, and many are wondering what actually happened. We might never find out the truth, but we do know that the cast left on good terms. In 2012, Dan Schneider, the creator of the show, said that everyone at iCarly has been like family to him for 5 years, and when they do end up filming the very last scene, there will be a lot of crying. However, he continued that he wants to go out on a creative high note, which is definitely how the show ended. In 2015, it was reported that Miranda Cosgrove is hoping for a reunion. She mentioned that she is definitely looking forward to going into a similar role that's perhaps slightly more mature, but she said she'd love to do a reunion movie with the cast in the future. She's not the only one. Nathan Kress also expressed his wishes to reunite the cast and said that all of them are hoping that in 10 to 15 years, the public ends up figuring out where everybody went. If you remember iCarly's final episode, you'll know that we were left with a cliffhanger. There was a rumor of a reunion happening in 2018, but this turned out to be completely false. Come on, Dan Schneider, we'd love to see iCarly the movie. Jennette's favorite moment from the show. iCarly had a lot of memorable moments that made us cry with laughter. We can't really decide on our absolute favorite moment, but in our top 5 is also the season finale, even though it made us sob as we realized the show is actually over. We're sure the actors do have favorite moments themselves, and Jennette McCurdy shared hers. Do you remember when the characters of iCarly went to Japan for the I Go to Japan feature-length movie? Jennette said that during the filming of the show, Miranda, Nathan, and she were standing outside at 3 o'clock in the morning in the Nickelodeon parking lot. They were getting ready to be hit by the big mud machine, and for some reason, Jennette recalls that moment as one of the most memorable moments from the entire show. Speaking of the Japan episode, do you remember the possum? Jennette had to pick up the creature and made it look like she was going to eat it. Pretty weird, right? It gets even weirder. The possum actually smelled so bad, Jennette said it was the worst thing she's ever smelled in her life. It also ended up pooping on her arm, which we're pretty sure wasn't actually shown in the movie. However, we don't think getting splashed with mud is a much better choice for a memorable moment. Jennette hated the food. Actors usually get to have lunch on set, and it consists of several food choices depending on the size of the cast. While most usually praise the food, it's always a hit or miss with some actors. Jennette had a different opinion on the lunch that was cooked for the show she got to be a part of because of iCarly. When iCarly became really popular, the show created a spinoff called Sam and Cat, which featured Jennette McCurdy and Ariana Grande as the main actresses. But here's the thing about Sam and Cat. Jennette hated the food on the show. She said that the worst thing she's ever eaten while acting were the vegan sloppy joe and waffle sandwiches she'd get on Sam and Cat. We can't blame you, Jennette. She said the sandwiches were weirdly textured. If you ever tasted vegan mock meat, you'd probably agree with her. However, it seemed like iCarly was way better when it came to feeding their cast, and everyone seemed to love the food. The cast got spaghetti tacos, and according to Jennette, they were absolutely delicious. Although she did ask herself, why would spaghetti tacos be a thing in the first place? She admitted she ended up eating them for way too many of the scenes. She probably can't say the same for the vegan sloppy joes. Hands up if you're craving some spaghetti tacos. That's it for talking about the secret behind-the-scenes fact of iCarly. For more videos like this one, check out 15 funniest adult jokes on iCarly you might have missed. See you next time!